Welcome to our Free Speech Zone, where we do a deep dive into trauma and reintegration. This is Combat Citizen. Welcome back to the Combat Citizen Trauma and Reintegration Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Stanton, and we are going to do a second episode with Joy Montgomery. So welcome back, Joy. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you, Ryan.
So yeah, had a good episode on the first episode with you. So I really appreciate that conversation, and just getting to know your passion and what you like to do for veterans. So thank you for that.
And it's my pleasure. I had someone say one time they didn't want a handout. It's really not a handout at all. It's a handshake, and it's my privilege to provide something in return for what you've provided.
Sure, and that's a awesome thing to do for us veterans, because knowing personally, getting out of the military and trying to find work that was comparable to the stuff that I did in the military, I gotta say, it wasn't the easiest to do. So being able to have somebody that is alongside you, guiding you, with your master file and all that stuff, would have been pretty awesome to have. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that you've helped over the last, you said what, 30 years?
About 30 years.
That's an amazing amount of time there, Joy, for that passion of yours to be able to to help out people, and I really commend you for doing that. So what I'd like to do is really kind of get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of what you do. I mean, the first episode was basically about kind of introducing the process, but I'm sure you have a fair amount of stories of soldiers that you've worked with, or veterans, or airmen, or whatever you want to call them. Whatever branch, but those veterans that get out of the military and they're like, what the fuck am I gonna do right now? I mean, it's just plain as day. I literally got out of the military, and you're like, what the hell I'm gonna do right now? So yeah, I just started off like, I guess, kind of getting this whole transition process. So when you, for like the soldiers that you've talked to, what are kind of some of the initial conversations that you have with them, or what are the initial impressions that you get from them when they exit and they're needing help? I guess that's where we'll start with that.
I think one of the most common things that I hear is, I know I have to start at the bottom, and that just infuriates me. No, you don't. Somebody who starts at the bottom is somebody who didn't finish high school and has never worked in their life. Sure. So there's a bottom for you guys.
Yeah, that's it. Go ahead.
I didn't want to be a sexist. I said, you guys, I got in trouble when we had a boss who said, "Good morning, guys," every day, and a woman sued him for it. So.
No way. What?
We loved that guy. Every day he came in, he was so happy. He'd say, "Hi, guys," and we'd all say, "Hi, Jim." And he couldn't say it anymore because the company said, "Yeah, she filed a lawsuit against us because she called the women in your department guys."
That's a generalized statement. I mean, I thought everybody knew that.
No. It wasn't as friendly and fun after that.
Oh, jeez. So you're walking in the room going, "Hey, people." I mean, come on.
Hey, humans.
Yeah. Hey, humans. Oh my God.
But that whole idea, I've had almost everybody at some point says, "I know I can't start at the top. I can't start in the middle." And when my kids were little, my husband left. I had a couple years of college. I had helped him run a business from home. I had worked. And when I went to an employment agency, they said, "What kind of money are you expecting?" And I said, $800 a month, because the house payment was $214, and I figured I should make about 4 times as much as that to take care of child care and all the different expenses. And the woman looked at me and said, "Well, you can't start at the top, you know."
You're like, but you're asking me what I feel like I'm worth, right? Or what I feel like I need.
So I reject that as soon as somebody says it, because that's just absolutely not true. You are the most technically skilled people who've ever come out of the military. The fellow that I mentioned to you in our chats on LinkedIn, who came and said, "What am I going to tell him? I know how to blow things up." And I said, "Well, if you're applying for a job with a construction company that does demolition, yes. Otherwise, no."
Jeez. So, okay, so walk me through that conversation. Like when somebody says something like that, do you find, like, do you actually look at kind of the transferable skills that happen, or that you know that he does, like either like leadership or whatever else, that can be used for a job search? Or how does that work for you?
I tell people, I say, "Tell me about a time when you exceeded expectations." And almost 100% of the time, the response is, "I never exceeded expectations. I just did my job."
That's very true.
It's not true. You have exceeded expectations at times, but the military wouldn't have kept you.
Okay. Fair enough.
You know, you look at the evaluations that you've gotten over the years, you see things that your officers have said they valued in your performance. So there were times that you exceeded expectations. You know, we've got Medal of Honor winners who probably would say, "I just did my job." And for most of the people in the world, just doing their job doesn't include saving 200 people from dying.
Or running into a firefight and saving somebody. Yeah.
So, and it's hard. The one fellow that I mentioned to you, it took probably a couple hours to drag out of him something he did that was above and beyond in just the normal course of work. And that was, he said, "Well, you said that you always say, I'll call him John, get John to fix it, he can fix anything." And he would fix the air conditioning in Iraq without the right parts or tools and get it going again.
Those people are pretty valuable.
Yeah, so for him, he was living on the streets, working part-time for minimum wage in a gun range. And he said, "It's looking to me like my only option is to keep going back until someone kills me." Well, we didn't do the master file for him because his situation was pretty desperate and he was sounding close to suicidal. So we did just a static resume, and it was for a facility supervisor. He was an NCO, so he should be looking for a supervisory role.
Sure.
And we made it facilities because he was good at that kind of thing. Within 3 weeks, he was working for $34 an hour in Phoenix, Arizona as a facility supervisor.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
So living on the streets for part-time minimum wage. And he stayed in that. I'll never hear from him because I'm part of the worst time in his life, and that happens a lot. But his social worker from the VA said he stayed in that job, saved up some money, and was going to college full-time the last time she heard from him.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a pretty good saving story, I guess. For lack of better, yeah.
And I think, because there he was, he had no sense of purpose, no feeling of self-worth as a civilian. And then he could move into something where he was leading people, he was teaching people, and he was doing what he was capable of as that facility supervisor. And saw that he could do more and went and got a degree. So I think one of the bad things that happens a lot of time, and a lot of the veterans who come to me have done this, is that they come home and the first thing they do is party. And
I'm done. Yeah.
get a DUI. So I had a veteran who had his MBA, and he was a certified public accountant. So this is a very desirable person. And I referred him to a company, and they looked at his record and saw that he got a DUI when he got home, and they wouldn't even talk to him. The stand downs are full of people whose lives went down the toilet after one DUI.
Yeah, which is highly unfortunate. I mean, which is yeah.
I would give every returning veteran a T-shirt that said on it "designated driver," and they could give that to one of their buddies that they're going to go out drinking with.
That's a good one. I like that.
And never have another DUI for partying when you come home.
Well, okay. Yeah. I mean, there's always that guy that doesn't drink. Like, there's always one. So you got to find that guy. And yeah, no, that's a great idea.
Or that person who is willing to not drink that night to make sure that your life doesn't start going in a bad direction.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had that happen for me. I was a designated driver, so it saved 4 or 5 guys' lives, so they can do what they wanted to do and then take them home.
But the whole idea of getting out of somebody something that they are proud of, something where at the end of the day they would have liked to have been able to go home and say, "Guess what I did today?" And that's where the resume and the master file start with, is those things. And then they get worded in ways where they all start with a verb and they all start with a value. So one of the common things for people in the military is the amount of inventory they manage.
Sure.
You guys need enormous amounts of inventory.
Yeah, no, there's supply and supply guys that I knew of that, $1 million plus of stuff that they had to maintain and catalog and make sure everything was, there. So yeah, I mean,
you can say manage $8 million worth of inventory with 1% loss,
which is amazing. That's huge.
Any employer is going to look at that. It's not in military terms. It's in terms that make them jump out of their chair and say, "When can you start?"
Yeah, no, here's the thing about it, that's capital letters of responsibility. Like,
yes,
huge.
And that's the whole trick, is to be able to flip those things around. Because I'll get resume after resume that says was responsible for. That doesn't say you ever did anything.
Sure.
It's your job description, but it doesn't say you ever did it. You might have been asleep in a back room somewhere the whole time.
God. But you're responsible for something.
Yeah, you didn't do it, but you're responsible for it. And employers like to see numbers. Even if it's that you managed 4 people.
Yeah.
All right. For a small company, a startup company, well, that's about the size of our team. Yeah, we can use someone who knows how to manage 4 people. That's what we put on a project. Or managed 112 people. But an employer looks at that and they go, "Oh, that's about the size of our team. This is someone who knows how to do that."
Yeah, I mean, and it's about, let's see, there was a guy that was that I deployed with, that his civilian job was, he's managed like, I think 25 to 50 guys. And then in the military, he was an E4 in the military. He didn't manage anybody, but it was so funny because he could run circles around some of these I mean, not off topic, but he could run circles around some of these guys, because he had the experience. I mean, he knew exactly what needed to be done. So I'm sure probably by the time by the time he got into, being an NCO and then eventually got out, then he probably could have his pick of anything he wanted to.
As long as he knows how to present it correctly. And it really is all about numbers.
Mm-hmm. And I think if I look back at my own personal experience, and thinking about what you're saying, as far as resume writing, and it being all about wording, some of the jobs that I applied for outside, HR related and that kind of stuff, I think if I would have gotten the wording better, I probably would have been able to get those jobs. But it's all about how you present the information, is from what it sounds to me, Joy.
It is, because you have to be speaking the language of your audience.
Yeah.
I work with a startup guy, and he wants me to help him look for grants. And I'll look something up, and he'll change it so it doesn't answer the question they're asking in the grant. And I'll say, this isn't answering the question. And he'll say, yeah, but I'm comfortable with the wording now. Okay, good for you.
Yeah, you may be comfortable with the wording, but somebody else is not going to look at it and go, okay, so I know exactly what I want that person. So
I used to do a workshop where I would start out with, I'm going to sit right down and write myself a letter and make believe it came from you. And I said, that's not what you're doing with a resume. You're not writing yourself a letter. It's not for you. You're not the audience.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be, well, okay, from what I understand, you're not supposed to be happy about it. You're supposed to make somebody else attracted to it, to look at it. Right. Yeah. Gosh. It's amazing. It's amazing when we get out of the military, and the conversations that we have in our heads about, what, I did all this shit. Like, it was awesome, right? Somebody's going to hire me. And then it doesn't really happen because we're not presenting ourselves in the best way.
You are the person they're looking for, and you haven't been able to figure out how to let them know that.
Correct.
I think it's like the young guy that I mentioned from Texas. He thought his dream job would be to work for Microsoft. And I said, I don't think that's your dream job. But I was able to get him an interview. It turned out that one of my paying career coaching clients was his sister-in-law was a recruiter at Microsoft. And I went, well, that's handy. So I got him an interview. And he could see really fast that I was right. Because what happens is, if you go into a big company, you might wind up, especially because he was going to be programming, you might wind up writing the same kind of code for 3 or 4 years. Until really you just want to just walk off a cliff or something, because it's like I'm in some kind of a nightmare where nothing ever changes. And I try to point people towards startup companies, and I'm really passionate about clean technology because I think this is a growing field. It's something with purpose. I have a LinkedIn group called Safe Air, Safe Food, Safe Water, because this is something, instead of dividing ourselves by skin color, dividing ourselves by politics, calling ourselves red states and blue states, we're supposed to be the United States. And I think we could get united behind poisoning the future of the country and the world.
Oh, yeah, completely. Yeah, you know what? Actually, hey, Andy, can I send you something and you can get this this link up here? It's actually I'm actually going to put up your Reboot camp website up, and I just kind of want to show people your organization before we finish off with the episode here. But it's amazing when somebody doesn't have the help that they need, and it's amazing the direction in which people go when they don't. but it's also, there's a difference from what I'm seeing from what you have been helping people out. So the for those of you that are actually able to see this is the the video portion. It's actually putting up the website. It's the Reboot Camp .us. Yeah. So this actually, the link that I'm up there right now is the job search roadmap. So it kind of, it's pretty comprehensive. I mean, it's pretty detailed. So take a look at that, and then reach out. There's an email there. Reach out to Joy, and if you're a veteran out there that is really struggling to really get to the next step in your transition out of the military, definitely take a look at this. Definitely reach out to Joy, because she's got a passion for this. She wants to help out, get you in the right mind space and get you in the right direction. So yeah, so that is the all we have for now. So
but it'd be a tremendous relief to get something other than spam about Chinese face masks.
Yeah, so everybody that sees this, go to the website and at least shoot a message to her and tell her thank you for all the hard work that she does, and so that she can get a smile on her face and instead of seeing spam. All right, well, thank you, Joy, for joining us. If you wouldn't mind, we can talk about this offline, maybe coming more on the episode and kind of doing a little bit more with the podcast. So but like I said, we can talk about that later. So because I really feel like you have a lot to say and a lot to contribute. So I really appreciate the conversation, Joy.
I do too. It's been wonderful.
Awesome.
I'm glad we met.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm glad we met.
I'm glad that we did too. I'm glad that Russ, good shout out to him to introduce and be able to, help out the podcast and being able to get out to people. So again, thank you. And I want to give out a shout out to the sponsor, BattleBox. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. But you know what? It is perfect. It's a BattleBox, which is the perfect carrying case for your essential oils and your sensitive items. So thank you again for watching, listening, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and get it out to as many people as possible. So thank you again, and have a great day.